Aloha and welcome. My name is Saul Kaho'ohalahala, and I'm currently the po'o for the Maui Nui Makai Network. And it is my honor and privilege to introduce our speakers tonight in this last series of the year 2022. And so I'd like to introduce, first of all, Malia Heimuli. Malia is from Kahalu'u, Ko'olau Oahu. She received her BA in geography with a focus in environmental studies from the University of Hawai'i at Hilo. And as a native plant nerd, actually, and a recent limu enthusiast, she finds her passion in the pursuit of ʻāina momona. So Malia is the Limu Hui Coordinator for Kuaʻāina ulu ʻAuamo, and which is an innovative community-based initiative for protecting, restoring, and caring for Hawaii. So I'd like to welcome Malia. And secondly, I'd like to introduce Lei Wann. Lei comes from Limahuli, Kaua'i. Lei grew up with gathering limu for her grandmother in Hā'ena Reefs. She has a background in anthropology, Pacific Island studies, and elementary education. She is currently the director of Limahuli Garden and Preserve. And prior to being the director of Limahuli Garden and Preserve, Lei spent a number of years in Hawaiian Education. Lei Wann is also a founding partner of Ko'olau Limu Hui. So with that, I'd like to welcome our two speakers this evening, and thank you very much for being here. And I'm going to hand this over now to Malia.
Aloha, mai kako, mahalo for having me, and for giving up your time to learn about the Limu Hui, Year of the Limu, and everything Limu. I just wanted to show this beautiful picture of a place that we go to Kilo Limu frequently. I actually was there about 2 hours ago, so I got to see Limu today. This is a place called Vavamalu, on the Kaiwi coastline here on Oahu. And yeah, you can see there's a few hoa limu that who come with folks to go and look at limu. So today I wanted to talk about Gathering the Gatherers, the Limu Hui, and the Year of the Limu 2022. And just starting off, I always really like to hear like how people like where people are from and what's their favorite way to eat or use limu. So if you feel compelled, you can go ahead and put in the chat your name, the place you call home, and your favorite way to eat or use limu. I think that's always like a fun activity. So go ahead throughout the presentation, feel free to. So this is the Limu Hui, and this was at the last Limu Hui gathering in 2019 in Hā'ena on Kaua'i. Lei, you were there. This was the last time we were able to gather, and it's amazing to see, you know, that this Limu Hui still has connections, even though we haven't been able to do our big gathering. But we've been doing smaller connections, talking story with folks, seeing other people on different islands when we can and when it's been safe. But we are actually hoping to gather again next year on Molokai and really get us all together again. So just wanted to show all the beautiful faces of these people that are doing limu work. And these are some of the places that they call home, places that they kilo limu, and they're looking to restore and protect and keep the knowledge of limu. So we have a lot of spaces, but there's still lots of coastline that we want to reach out to communities and have them feel free to be a part of the Limu Hui too. I also wanted to recognize a few of our kupuna that have either passed recently or a while ago. These are folks that have been really key in contributing to their knowledge to the Limu Hui, to gathering people, key people that have wanted more for these Limu practices that we have and wanting to get generations of folks back into Limu. So just wanted to show their faces, these people who we've lost, but they're still in our minds, especially when we're on the papa. And this is it. This is where just wanted to show this beautiful picture of one place that we kilo up in the Haleiwa area of Oahu. This beautiful papa is just filled with limukala. And this is where we remember and where we connect back to these practices of limu. And this is what we're currently doing, where we're doing innovative ways of planting limu back into our places. We're connecting people to this lei of knowledge and to this lei of community. So that's what the Limu Hui is trying to do. And we're doing surveying, we're collecting data, we're doing so that we can do restoration of limu. And we're also bringing people back to the papa, continuing to practice, showing people how to connect with limu again. So I just wanted to show, so if you didn't know, now you know, it is the year of the limu. We started an initiative just to show you a really cool picture. So on the left side of your screen, you'll see back in 2015, at one of the at the Limu Hui gathering in 2015, Year of the Limu was proposed, and folks wanted to make 2016 the Year of the Limu. However, what they found was that they needed to do a lot more limu education, especially with legislators and with communities. Not a lot of people were focusing on limu and looking at limu as something that's important to our marine ecosystems and to our island ecosystems in general. So it took about 7 years for us to get up enough limu cred, I guess you could say, to actually propose the Year of the Limu. And so what we did was in 2021, we proposed in the legislative session if we could have the year 2022 as the Year of the Limu. And it didn't pass in the legislative session, which was kind of discouraging. However, what we did was we asked some friends and we had them talk to the governor and he agreed that the Year of the Limu would be an awesome way to bring in 2022. So he proclaimed in this past January of January 28th, it became the Year of the Limu. And just in time for our Year of the Limu celebrations that we've been doing across the Kaʻāina. So, and we've also, one thing that we've done for this year, I don't know if any of you have gotten it, but we made a Year of the Limu calendar, which turns out beautiful and it was great. People loved it. If you don't have a copy, e kalamai. But those of you who do, it's gonna go vintage next year. So I hope you enjoyed it, but we did create an awesome calendar. And we've been having events all throughout the Kaʻāina, pretty much every month throughout the year. So Eva Limu Project, we started our first event with out at One'ula Beach Park with a beach cleanup and a Limu education table. So you can see there's Uncle Wally there, showing people about Limu. And pretty much all the Limu that was there was collected at One'ula. So it was great for the community there to come out and to actually see Limu of their place. A lot of people were very surprised that all the Limu was from One'ula. So great time we had. We've also done another event at Mālama Pupukea Waimea. This is on the North Shore, and we just did a Limu walk and looked at Limu. The kids got to play with Limu and really interact with the kupuna that came and made some art activities. So that was really cool. Mālama Mauna Lua, we were able to, I'm not sure how many pounds of invasive gorilla ogo that we removed, but we removed many bags of invasive gorilla ogo there. And we were able to do some Limu education where people actually saw native Limu of Mauna Lua Bay. So that was really, really special. We had a Limu event on Lanai with Lanai Limu Restoration Projects. They are re-energized around Limu, and they are starting up their Limu farm again, and they're growing Limu in these Limu cages out over there. So we were able to go down and kokua and see what's happening and how we could bring Limu into the picture again. So that was really cool. We also did one with Waimanalo Limu Hui. This was where we made limule and we outplanted limu out in Kaiona near Pahonu, the fish pond area. So that was really cool to see the community there get energized again, which they do regular community work days. But this one was really special because it was when a lot of the restrictions were being lifted. So we kind of felt more safe to gather. So that was really nice. We also did the Hanana Nona Limu, Hana Limu Fest. We were able to survey and kilo limu in different areas of Hana with the Limu Hui. And then we were able to maybe see some of you folks on the call. We were able to do some limu pressing and limu activities, and a lot of people were amazed at the limu that we brought because we collected it from Hana. And before I heard from Uncle Wally that they used to bring limu from Oahu, but this time they got to see the limu of their place, and I was amazed by the limu too that we found. So so that was really nice to see the limu. Some other things we've been doing during this year, we created a how to properly pick limu PSA. We've been doing many limu pressing workshops with all sorts of ages of folks. And we also have helped Hawaii Sea Grant with the reprint of the Limu Eater. Some of you might have the original copies of it, but we've revised some of the Limu names so that they reflect the current like scientific names. And also there is a new foreword by Uncle Wally and also Heather Fortner, who is the original author and who had passed actually this past July. So it's really special that she got to see that her work was reprinted. And there's also this movement of limu eaters now. So that's been really special. So we're hoping that the book will be in a lot more bookstores across the Kaʻāina. So stay tuned. And then we're also working on some limu curriculum, and we want to offer this to a lot of educators, especially in the DOE schools, so that we can eventually get people excited for our new initiative for next year, which is naming Limu Kala as the state limu, especially because of Limu Kala's significance culturally, its importance in our marine ecosystems, and yeah, and Limu Kala is just a very common and recognizable limu that a lot of people know. So that's something that we're currently working on, and we're hoping that if we spread enough awareness that you may want to support us in our initiative for naming a state limu. And then with that, I just wanted to say mahalo nui. This year of the limu has been an amazing initiative. It's reached many people, and we really are excited for what will grow out of this year. So mahalo nui, giving up some photo cred, and there's my email address if you wanna ever contact me. Mahalo nui.
Aloha, aloha mai kako. I'm Lei Wann. As Uncle Saul mentioned earlier, I come from Hā'ena Kaua'i, and I'm going to share a little bit about limu and the work we're doing here on Kaua'i in regards to limu. Here in this first photo, I have the valley of Limahuli, which is makes up a majority of Hā'ena, Ahupua'au Hā'ena. And I fortunately get to serve this valley. My ancestors come from this valley, and at one time were some of the last konohiki to Mālama the entirety of this valley. And as it is today, I currently have that responsibility in kuleana as the director of Limu Hui Garden and Preserve, to Mālama from the top, the very top of this watershed, above that 800-foot waterfall, all the way out to the outer reefs with our co-partners, the Hui Makainano o Hā'ena. And so I'm going to talk a bit about holistic ahupua'a management as it regards to limu, as well as some of the projects that we've been up to on Kaua'i. So as I mentioned, my family came from this valley, grew up picking limu on a lot of these reefs here. This is a project we did a few years ago with Uncle Tommy and some of the kupuna of our village that were still around and remembered names of the reefs. And we fortunately were able to collect a majority, a number of names for our reefs. So I primarily grew up picking limu on these reefs here and across to this reef here. Sometimes we went all the way down to Ka'ilio and down into Ke'e area, but kind of more this area here, primarily on Pu'ukahuaiki, Pu'ukahuinui, which, as you may recall, those names come up in Hi'iaka. These are the reefs that Lohiau, when he's revived and brought back to life, and the first thing he thinks to do is go surf, of course. I know many people, kane and wahine, be the first thing on my mind, go to the ocean and surf. So fortunately, we grew up picking on these reefs. Another really famous reef in Hā'ena for gathering in our families, no teo now, is of course what we call Paveaka, this long reef here as well. They're both fed by streams. They're nearby streams, which we know play an integral role in the abundance and health of limu. All limus need that fresh water to kind of revive and help them grow. Green limus, one of the oldest, primarily love the brackish or the the fresh water and are kind of ignited by that. So anytime you're kind of walking along any kind of sand and they have that kind of fuane, or what do they call it? That kind of sandy rock, and you see green limus coming out of the sand, you know that there's freshwater sources coming out of those areas. So in these areas, we see a lot of those kinds of things. We see all different kinds of colors of limu. You got the reds, the browns, and the greens, and kind of that, even some blue greens that are kind of on the newer spectrum of limu. But fortunately, with the help of our garden and the management of our whole ahupua'a and our partners, the Hui Makaina no Makana, we still have a pretty healthy reef and ecosystem. And part of that is due to we have a community-based subsistence fishing area that is inclusive of all this area that you see here. So our community really leads and guides best practice for fishing based off of our traditional methods. So if you're interested in knowing more about community-based subsistence fishing areas, you're welcome to reach out to myself or the Hui. We can tell you a bit more about that. But as Uncle Wally always reminds us, Uncle Wally Ito always reminds us, limu always starts from the top of the watershed and comes down, and that's surely the case in Hā'ena. We have an abundance and a healthy reef system because of the ahupua'a and the whole management of our resources. This is my tutu wahine. As Uncle Saul mentioned, I grew up picking limu a lot of times for her. She was anemic, and as a child, that was her kuleana on those papa. Her brothers would fish in the deep ocean and in these channels here, and even down to Napali. And then we also have an ancestor from Nihoa who would leave from here and go back to Nihoa. They would fish out in those waters, but she would gather on the papa. That was her responsibility in kuleana. So I always grew up admiring that and have had a strong interest in that. This is our old family house in the valley. It was one of the only homes in Limahuli Valley. And we're so fortunate to still be kuleana attendants to this day. But there is me as a young child, and I'm probably looking at green limus in the stream. I was super fascinated with limu from a small age. My sister, on the other hand, she would take her Louis Vuitton bag and she would holo. So that's her with her Louis Vuitton bag in the middle of nowhere in rural Hā'ena. And I still looking down, looking for limu. And I think it was around this age that my dad actually started letting me go out to the outer reefs. So Puka Waiki and Puka Nui are out here in these outer reefs. And you would swim across and go out to the outer reef and pick. And we knew those channels to also have mano and things like that. So I remember being scared, but also being very excited to carry on the traditions of our family. As the years went on, I became an educator. In that small time, then I became an educator as the years went on. And at one point, we started a nonprofit, and we were focusing on all the different mokus and servicing a school called Kawaikini New Century Public Charter School, and kind of focusing on resources that were important to each wahipana, each place, each moku. And throughout the years, one of my favorite moku to kind of focus on in over about a 15-year period was Ko'olau. And eventually, I strictly taught Ko'olau curriculum. And I think one of the reasons why Hale'le'a always intrigued me as well, and Hale'le'a was famous for limu, but Ko'olau was really famous for limu, and I think I particularly drew to teaching about there. Some of my ancestors do come from Ko'olau side. We had an ancestor named Pa'amaui who lived in that area, and our Kini side as well, our Kaluahine side as well. But anyway, it kind of intrigued me because I was so interested in limu. And so throughout the years, I got to teach limu, and I got to create mele around limu with the help of like my cousin Kamealoha for us. And we created mele honoring the limu pickers of Ko'olau. And it was around this time I first met Auntie Napua Burrows. And when I met her, and she was into limu and she was teaching limu and cooking with limu, I got really excited. And then a few years later after that, I met Uncle Wally and Uncle Henry Cheng Wo. And oh, it was like, I was so excited to talk limu or have people to learn limu from, to share knowledge with. And so anyway, I just want to share this quick mele. This one's called Ohi Limu Ko'olau, from the area of Ko'olau, where particularly I'll save the resource, but if you listen closely in the mele, you'll know which type of limu is most famous.
I didn't see that. Yeah, that's what you're on. For now. Then we go to the boarding school and we'll be discussing them. Yeah. That's okay. I can handle it.
They're talking about the rice bags on the hips of the folks in Ko'olau, and how you would see them out on the reefs. And it was like a friend on their hip. I'm a friend of the reefs. Okay. Well, anyway, it's called He Mele Ko'olau Mele Hakud for the folks of Ko'olau. It talks about many of our students that I had in the past, their ancestors from there, and the limus that they used to pick out on that reef in this particular area. Many of their ancestors in this photo here actually would gather limu in order to pay for their books and their schooling in the early 1900s. And it talks about gathering limu, being a friend of the reef, that eke laiki, that bag, rice bag on your hip, and how it was a friend of theirs. In other years, I don't know. In other years, we created mele as well that were recorded. That were recorded and play on the radio now. It talk about again, Limu and the rich history of Limu in this area. I'm gonna give it one more try. Let me know if you can hear. A'ole hiki? Hiki? A'ole, okay. I'm just gonna play it and talk while it's playing. So as years went by, I would call out to one of my aunties from the area, Auntie Nalani Kaneakua, and her father, Hosea Lovell, had a Limu project that he started about 30 years ago off of an area called Alio Manu. And she would come out with us, go holo holo, go look at Limu, go out to the papa with to areas she was ma'atu, and then also to areas that other practitioners had shared with us and shown us along the way. And as time went on, Auntie Nalani and I decided, maybe we should restart your dad's project out in Alio Manu. Maybe we should start growing limu again. And it was really interesting as we dug through the history and things that he did. He started a limu project about 30 years ago, and Uncle Wali Ito actually grew limu for him 30 years ago. And I wish Uncle Wali was here on this call. I'm not sure if he is, but Uncle Wali grew limu for him 30 years ago and helped with even some of the permitting process. So we have an old permit through the state of Hawaii to grow limu out on the papa. And we actually find some of the remnants of things, his old growing areas out on the reef where we grow limu currently. And so I'm gonna just walk you through. We kind of renamed ourselves. Auntie Nalani liked the name Ko'olau Limu Project. She likes it because it's an acronym too of kelp. So this is a video. I think when I think of Limu, I think of it and it is the beginning of time. Limu is old. It's a kupuna. It's an old resource. It's not just algae. It's not just seaweed. It's life. Limu is life.
I got into this Limu project. The Limu project got into me, actually. It was a project that was created by my father some 30 years ago. When he wasn't working, he was at the ocean. I followed him since I was a kid. When he dove, I dove next to him. When he was out in the ocean, I was in the boat with him learning how to oar. When he was picking limu, I was right next to him walking out on the reefs. I'll tell everybody my secret now. For me, the joy is like hanging around with my kupuna because, you know, when you eat the limu and you keep their legacy alive, you're also hanging out with them. So to work in limu just totally excites me. I'm not gonna sit at home with you guys if you don't know what to do with it. Feeding ourselves, yeah? It's about eating the limu, learning how to be creative. That's why we focus on cooking, because it's important that they know what to do with it. And by creating all these recipes that they're comfortable with and they're in their comfort zone, they'll be able to take that limu home and share with their families.
With Ko'olau Limu Project, what we're doing is trying to make the next generation of limu practitioners and the next generation of people who care about limu. Because if we don't, there's a pretty good chance in this generation that we might lose it. Part of what we're trying to do is re-educate or educate, try and teach them how to take care of it from start to end, how to look after it from the land to the sea. Just like our kupuna of the past, it's super important we're out there taking care of that garden too.
It is survival for our culture, because if we lose that knowledge, part of our culture gets lost too.
Because in our Kanaka life, we are taught to start reading elements to know your environment from a young age, not once you receive a degree or when you go to school and therefore you're acknowledged. Look at limu in depthly, look at every little grain and the way it branches off or forks or the way its holdfast hangs to the reef. We're teaching that from now. if you are embracing who you are as a Kanaka and our practice and our traditions, we can embrace it now. Don't have to wait. Yeah, that was actually a video that Kua helped us create a few years during the pandemic. Kua said, let's do a video, and we had fun with that. But this is our Limu project, and as you could see, the Lanai actually, we talk story with them often, and they wanted to try this style of caging, which is sort of a offset of the original cages that Uncle Hosea was using in Ko'olau. Kale Arinaga, which is Auntie Nalani's sister, who was very involved with her father 30 years ago. She said, you know, they had a group of scientists dive the outside reef at one time, and they were so impressed at how much limu, and the type of limu we particularly grow in this project is manuea, which used to grow in abundance in this reef area, but no longer is seen in abundance. We just see little pieces of manuea, and so we're so happy to be able to try and carry on this tradition in one form or another for the keiki of Ko'olau, and share the traditions of their tutus and their kupuna with them. Beyond our work in the ocean, Auntie and I both love to cook with limu. I love to go through old documents, old palapala, old newspapers, and read how folks were using limu in the past, and then try and revive it and resuscitate it if it's not around anymore. So beyond, like, we of course do pokes and all of that, and some of the more common uses, but then we like to try. Auntie Nalani is a chef, and I actually spent a lot of time being in her kitchen as a young opio and working for her. I think she had a lot to do with my interest in cooking, but I like to try and read through old palapala and see if I can revive things today. So here is Aki Aki, Limu Aki Aki. One of the old newspapers talks a lot about it being used as a thickener and used in stews and things like that, and a substitute for things like cornstarch and your common thickeners or yeast even. So created a bread that takes 30 minutes. You put the dough and the limu together, and it takes about 30 minutes, not even, takes about 10 minutes to rise, and 20 minutes in the oven maybe. And boom, fresh, nice gummy bread, just like that from the limu aki aki. We also do things like sauces and use aki aki for thickener and all kinds. But our hope is that, you know, we also meet the palates of today. Oftentimes we find the keiki not ma'a to some of the old foods, so we gotta slowly just infiltrate and also meet them where they're at today. So of course we've done the pizza thing. This is with the palahalaha, the ova that Malia had on her screen earlier. That papa just when I was like, girl, I want to come. But the limu palahalaha or paha pahas you could use. Essentially in this recipe, it's not hard. You're substituting basil, and instead of basil, using palahalaha, and then it's about a 3/4 palahalaha and 1/4 basil. So any basil, any pesto recipe, exchange the amount of basil you use for palahalaha, and you have fun. Nothing very hard, or it's not something. Well, and that's kind of our thought, is to try and make it easily accessible for meals, and the way that parents have to move nowadays, and you know, everything's so quick and time is of the essence for many of us parents. So this is one of my keikis favorite, of course. We also have done things, I see Kale Maile's Ohana, the Victor Ohana on this call, and there's our sweet Kale Maile. I've also done things like use limu for dyes and mordants too. So in this case, the coloring wasn't necessarily the kohu, but the mordant to hold it, the iodine in this dress. And what is the dress mimicking? The plant itself, kohu itself. And I just want to emphasize too, as a director of a botanical garden, have the opportunity to also infiltrate these plants into our garden as well. And I hope down the line, you'll see a botanical garden with limu also growing in it, not just land plants. So anyway, that's a bit about that. One other thing we get to do, I often get to work with communities as well and help them to either figure out, you know, what types of limu are just growing in their communities and what they have and what's there. Right now, I've been working kind of consistently with Mālama Mahalepu. Auntie Nalani and I go out often, or myself and my son Hanalei, we go out and help them do limu surveys and just kind of get a feeling, just kilo, what they have there. And in Hā'ena, we've been trying to figure out a way to kind of do assessments based off of our traditional boundaries too. So rather than, you know, making transits and calling it certain things, we're trying to associate things again by the traditional names. And if we can't, we put a papa kahi e lua e kolu, but eventually you want to trade it in for the traditional names of the apapa, or like on the left here, you see the ko'as. We know this is a ko'a, but the name is lost. So exchanging that ko'a's name back to it, rather than using your kind of scientific transits, trying to reverse and go back to our indigenous ways of and traditional ways of looking at things. And so, yeah, that's something we get to do out in communities to help identify what they might have. And yeah, that's a bit about what we've been doing or what we've been up to on Kaua'i, and supporting limu and trying to bring it back to people's homes and lives and just conversations again.
Mahalo, Auntie. That was so awesome. Mahalo, Auntie Lei and Malia. I'm ready to go Mālama and go eat some limu. I know after seeing the different ways to make limu, you're kind of thinking of all kinds of different things, but definitely to take care of them is most important. So right now we're going to open up to a Q&A. Go ahead and put it into the chat, or you can unmute. But I had a question. I think you guys kind of answered it, but what is your, I know you asked everyone and everyone kind of put in the chat different ways they love to eat limu. But what are your folks' favorite and the way you love to eat limu?
I'll go first. Just right off the papa. Right there.
I have a favorite, limone or limo pihi. If I see that limo on the reef, it's over. I'm like a turtle on the reef.
I love it. Aloha, Miki.
Aloha nui kako, aloha te, aloha. Aloha kako. So I don't really have a question, but I just wanted to mahalo you guys. Super interesting. I just started trying to up my ike around limu right now. Very interesting topic. Originally, I'm from Hanamaui. So I kind of, went peeking with my grandmother a little bit. you know, but kind of like you guys, if you all know, then you just go get, yeah. Some things that I was wondering about was like seeing like the health of our reef systems and the health of Limu. Sometimes you go and I'm like, oh, that never tastes too good. I wonder what are some of the things that are affecting those areas. I was wondering maybe if you guys found some typical things to look for when Limu is healthy and when Limu is not too healthy. And then, of course, you know, what do you do when you see sort of that things happening?
Good question.
Very good question. Malia, just feel free to jump in with me. We're talking about this limo that's right behind me right here, this green one, and you made me think of something really interesting. So like I mentioned earlier, Uncle Ali always says, look at your whole ahupua'a, you know, from the top of the mountains to the bottom to the outer reefs. And so if you know kind of the health around you of the ʻāina is not too good, I caution you to look to maybe hold back a little. Limu in like water quality tests is really a great way to assess like the health of things, because it's stationary and it's there. It gets more of a concentrate of things versus like water quality tests. The water is always moving, yeah, and you're catching a sample and as it's flowing, and you might catch a healthy sample and you might catch a little bit of something in there. But Limu is there, and it's kind of a good indicator of long-term health of your, like over time, health of your ahupua'a. So going back to this green limu, we know it comes out in fresh water. We also know that greens like nitrates, yeah. So say like there's a place here on Kaua'i, I always caution people, it's right in front of a hotel, an old outdated hotel, and across the road is a sewer system. And we know a lot of that area has had some issues with the water table and old plumbing and things like that. And just 50 feet across the road, you have, if the sewer system on one side of the road, 50, 60 feet across the road, maybe 100, you got a nice green patch of this limu. So one, you know there's water coming out because it's green limu, but two, it's so healthy, almost kind of questionable. And you look across from you and you see the sewer thing, and you know it might be outdated. So, you know, watch around you and go to areas that you know are healthy. There's good turbidity, there's good water flow. Those are good places. Even like on Lanai, they have some silt, but they have a lot of turbidity, and it's nice. And the limu that Uncle Saul folks and the ohana out there grows nice, even though there's some silt coming off. The water itself on other parts is moving, and it's enough to let things grow properly, you know, at least in the cages. But anyway, look around you, always look at indicators around you. And of course, I always say it's good to go with practitioners that know the area or people that are familiar with the area. We never used to maha'oi too much outside. My dad would always say, you know, you go with people that teach you about the area and give you permission to go in those areas and so forth. So that's just some mana'o. Malia, maybe you have more.
You said it all totally. I guess I wanted to say there have been some studies done by researchers at UH Manoa that show that invasive limu really thrives in stormwater runoff. And so that's kind of a good indicator too, to see what's the health of the vai that's coming especially off surface water. Yeah, what's the health of that ohupua'a and that whole system of wai that's coming down into the ocean. If you're seeing a lot of Gerla ogo, a lot of non-native species that are kind of taking over the papa, that's also they're an indicator of an imbalance too. So but yeah, definitely if you see those green limu, oh, that's a great indicator of wai, which is so important for our papa. So yeah, mahalo Lei. You said it beautifully.
No, and that the browns, that's another, I mean, if you see an influx of browns, like too much, almost where it's just like taking over, those are usually signs of like phosphates. It's not uncommon where there are golf courses and things, you see like an overgrowth if there's a good flow of some of the phosphates coming off of the golf course as well as nitrogen, that you'll have influx of things like that. So you can tell a lot by limu. You can kind of almost, I when I go to the kai, I like to look at what I call the Lei Uluvehi, which is like that, all the stuff that washes up. The Lei Uluvehi o Kikai is just how I refer to it, but that long lei that comes up of limu on the sand on the highest tide point. And you can kind of see like, oh, okay, there's a good mix of greens and browns and reds. I think things might be kind of healthy out here. And you can almost tell too what other things are growing out there. Like, yeah, anyway, if you see lots of reds and things like that, they're kind of younger. Well, the greens are the oldest, but and you'll know that there's fresh water and things like that coming up. But yeah, it'll tell you a lot.
So I live on Maui, and one area known to used to have lots of limu was Kihea, Kavililipoa Beach, but now you lucky you get one little sprig. So I was wondering, how do you get an area classified as, like no pick for like 5 years, so the limu can recover and people can start growing limu down there, just wondering, because it's kind of crucial, because kupuna, they don't go there anymore, it's kind of sad. So my goal in the rest of my life is to have limu growing so the kupuna can go, so I wanted to network with some other Maui folks to get something started. Anyway, sorry.
Malia, you wanna go?
I guess I just wanted to contribute that there is a spot here on in Ewa on Oahu, One'ula, where Uncle Henry Chango and a lot of us from the Ewa Limu project, we Hilo. So that area is known as a Limu management area, and Uncle Henry had helped or had gotten that place designated so that there is rest periods, and then there are periods of time where people can pick limu. I will say though that that's like the legalities of it, but as far as like enforcement, that's upon the community and also like people like Docare to really manage. So I'm not sure on the state of what the success is of having that limu management area, but it's nice to know that that's area specific for limu. And yeah, we're hoping that that will really reactivate people in the community and also people with the Ewa Limu project to really come back to the area and see how they can take care of the limu resource over there again. Lei, I think you might have a lot of good mana'o too.
Oh, I was gonna say, of course, Malia and Kaua'i are great resources to reach out to, and the oftentimes come out to communities and look at, what the possibilities are. So like if it's Lipua, you're trying to get back out there, there might be ways to, we've done like you saw the rocks where we add the ko'as, we add limu onto the ko'as, and Waihe'e Limu project by Auntie Napua. They use that method for restoration, where you're basically tying limu or strands of limu back on to ko'a so they can reestablish themselves back out in the kai. And I know Auntie Napua has had much success through the years doing that out in the Waihe'e area. And that actually is a traditional method too. I'm not sure if Maui used to use it, but we have records of folks out in Anini and Halele'a and Ko'olau going out to the reefs in Ko'olau and Halele'a and tying limu on the apapa and reestablishing it out on the apapa and weeding out the old. So when we go out to, my son and I go out to Mālama Mahalipu, one of the main things we do in a kind of heavy storm area is we weed out invasive species like Echintophora. It's a prickly limu, and then tie with how rope things like ova that are growing down the beach, the palahalaha or limu kala, and we've seen much success with that. And the good thing about like removing the invasives is you can take it home later and like use it in your garden for a good little phosphate introduction to your garden. Makes a great addition. So I know in Kihei, you folks have some invasive limus down there. I've seen when I've been in your area, but of course in that area it might need help too. And some of the remedies that unfortunately we've had to go through is, and Lanai's using the same, as like in their case the water has become too there's too much runoff, so they've resorted to having to grow limu on the cages, and they do see regrowth out on the apapa, but also recognize that it might be the way to keep the limu going, is through cages and growing it that way. And until you can kind of address whole ahupua'a management, those might be some remedies to our short-term solutions, not long-term, but short-term solutions to making sure that at least the seeds are still in your kai and still out there, and they're still being distributed out in the kai, and hope that on land we only get better as humans in taking care of the planet, and better at how we take care of our land, that one day it'll hopefully reestablish again.
Mahalo to both of you for your insight. I got to do research now, how to get the designation and get some folks, round up the troops here and start restoration already. Because I used to teach the ethnobotany class, and we used to go down there like every semester, and the limu was like thick. So you just go and you can pick out all the samples. But now, like, that was 2012, and then like around that time it kind of disappeared, those mats of limu. So like talking to some of the kupuna that used to go there, like they're just disappointed because they can't go gather like just one little bag. They cannot even gather. So my hope is that we can round up the troops and get some limu going over there again. But mahalo for having this discussion. It's really important.
Making me hungry talking about Lipua though.
Auntie Gwen, I just put my email in the chat. Please feel free to reach out and let's talk story on how the Limu Hui and others in Kua can help you. Yeah, mahalo.
Mahalo. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, I wanted to point out, I see my nephew Nainoa out there. He recently reached out to me. He's been adding limos as thickeners in his paints. He's an artist. Nainoa, aloha, eke hoa.
Uncle Saw, did you want to add on to any of that?
Well, I just wanted to thank Lei and Malia for inspiring those that have joined in on our speaker series. So much so that it's creating initiatives in communities like Gwen, to reach out and find ways in which to participate in this idea of taking care of our ʻāina from Mauka to Makai, and Limu is one of those important parts, because it's a reflection of what is on the land. What is healthy on the land should be healthy in the kai, and vice versa. And when we're finding that the land is troubled, we should see perhaps the same condition in the kai. And so it helps us to understand that our kupuna really knew the relationship of Mauka and Makai. So, and thank you for reaching out. And Malia has her Limu Hui through Kua, and that is a good place to begin. On Maui, we have Auntie Pua, who's already working in the Waihe'e area. And then our Maui Nui Makai network is also a network of communities that are seeking to Mālama all of what the ocean provides, from limu to fish to opihi to all of those things. So I would invite you to take a look at our website at mauinui.net and look at what we can provide for in resources, and please do call us. So if we don't have any more questions, what is our time like, Tate?
We're good to go. Just wanted to say mahalo again to Auntie Lei and Malia. I learned a lot. And like Uncle Saw said, creating that desire and that impact to create a little bit of a movement, or continue at least to grow on already made movement, because I know you guys have done a lot and continue to do in the world of Limu, that you can, just by how you guys shared tonight, can tell the water quality, can tell it has such a big impact in the entire ahupua'a, not just on the papa. So we mahalo you folks, and we'll end tonight. We mahalo you folks, and ahui ho.
Okay. Aloha.
Mahalo nui, aloha.
Mahalo.
Ai mahalo nui, hui ho kako.